There's been a lot of excitement recently over things like gold and silver, and rightfully so, as we've seen those prices skyrocket over the last few months. There's a lot of also talk about EVs and everything that goes into their batteries, the vehicle themselves, especially the green revolution. But I think a lot of people have quickly forgotten that copper is not only a very instrumental metal within EVs, but also the green revolution and also the infrastructure and construction across the world. It has been for decades in the past, and it will be for decades to come. So, what we're doing today, we're talking about the case for copper right now as an investment. We'll also be speaking specifically with John Black. He's the CEO and Director of Regulus Resources, talking about recent catalysts in their company and why they believe they're one of the horses that investors should be looking to in this push for copper and in that world of investing within this metal. We'll be going over recent catalysts and news releases for that company as well. And more importantly, we'll be talking about the recent share price and why John and his team believe there's a very large case for shareholder appreciation, not only just over the near future, but over the long term as well. So to do all of this, we're bringing on John Black, my good man. Welcome.
Hi, Brandon. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And like I was just saying earlier, a lot of attention has been put into gold and silver, and rightfully so. But it's almost as if some investors are forgetting that there are other things out there, especially copper, that is used in such a wide variety of things that we need for every day. And I really want to talk about first, we're going to go over an overview of your company, but especially the case for copper. But if you don't mind, if you can give us a quick overview of Regulus Resources for anybody who may not have heard about you guys before.
Okay, great. It'd be my pleasure. At Regulus, we're a group of seasoned explorationists. We mostly come from technical backgrounds. This is our second company, and we've operated both companies under the same strategy, in which that we specialize in identifying, capturing large copper or copper gold projects that have the potential to be a large enough mine and an economically robust enough mine that it would attract the attention of a major company. We try to capture those opportunities when there's a downturn in metal prices, or just because we have geologic experience to identify the maybe undiscovered potential in a project like this. We drill those projects out, we de-risk those projects, and then ideally we monetize those by selling them to a major mining company. That's exactly what we did in our predecessor company, Antakori Minerals, and we're the very same team now as Regulus Resources, and we think we're on to a very exciting play with the Antakori copper gold project. It's a large copper project that this time has a significant amount of gold with it as well.
Very nice and exciting to hear. And we're going to go a little bit more into detail about your company, about yourself as well in just a moment here. But the case for copper, I want to start off with that. What is the case for copper right now for an investor who's curious? Should I be looking into investing into this metal one way or another?
Well, in commodities in general, we tend to be a very cyclical business, and we often have periods of time with lower metal prices, and we don't develop mines that we should be developing during that period of time, and then we get into a supply-demand gap. And that's what most people are predicting is on the horizon for copper. We're starting to see that emerge a little bit right now, but I think this is just the start of it, really. When we look out 2 or 3 years from now, we'll see a continued increase in demand for copper, driven largely by electrification of vehicles and almost every aspect of our lives right now. But grades are declining in major mines. We're not putting new mines into production. We're frankly not finding very many new mines to put into production. So this will create a pinch point in the next couple of years, which will most likely result in a substantial increase in copper. The other thing I think people forget is copper is in many ways the ultimate green metal. It's when we look at electrification of vehicles, what's driving the lithium and nickel demand, there's a lot of copper involved in almost any electric vehicle or wind turbines. So that's what's driving the increased demand in copper.
Yeah, and it'll continue to go up as well as that's the natural evolvement that we're making right now, and it's EV batteries, it's all this green energy and all of that, and copper, like you just said, is within all of those. So it'll be very interesting to see. But before we go into more depth into your company, I know that you were with us last August at our vid conference, and for anybody who's curious about that, it's an in-depth interview where you go through your entire deck. There's questions afterwards, there's some great answers. You can go in the description of this video right now to see that more in-depth interview. Please, by all means, we'd love for people to do their due diligence. But for yourself, if you give us a little bit more of a background on yourself and the management team that you have with Regulus.
Yeah, our management team, as I mentioned, we've been together for now. This is our second company as we're moving forward on this. And the core part of our group is myself, Kevin Heather, who's our Chief Geological Officer, and Mark Wayne, who's our CFO. Kevin and I both have strong technical backgrounds. I'm an exploration geologist. I spent the first half of my career working for Kennecott, Rio Tinto, Western Mining, some of the major mining companies, which was an opportunity to have a great foundation, a great basis, a way to see a lot of the world, and particularly a lot of South America, where we specialize now. I'm more of a copper guy. Kevin has a similar technical background and is focused more on gold, working with Barrick and other major mining companies, as well as Canadian government groups on this. So we complement each other well. Both of us have extensive experience in South America. Kevin still lives in South America. I lived there for about 10 years. And Mark's been our steady rock as CFO to keep everything going. We've got a great back office with Meg Cameron Jones and a really strong team of additional people that help us on business development and IR. And I'm particularly proud that we have a very good local team in Peru. Almost all of our geologists come from Peru. Almost all of them come from the immediate area of the project. So it's a strong team, top to bottom, an experienced team that's done this before, and we're on to a great opportunity to do it again.
Love it. And I appreciate for doing that. And now that we've gone over the case for copper, a little bit of an overview of your company and the management, let's get into the catalysts. I know a lot of investors are always looking for, what should they be expecting to come? I know that you've recently announced that you're going to be having your drill program starting up soon. Can you expand upon that as well, and any other catalysts that you'd like to mention?
Certainly. Well, the foundation of what we have right now is when we captured the project, there were already indication there's good mineralization, and we put out our phase one or our initial interim resource last year, which is a little over 500 million tons of quite attractive copper gold grade. That's our basis. But what we're really excited about right now is that early this year we just received our permits to begin to extend our drilling into a northern part of the project called Antanorte. It's an area that's been previously untested, but it has a strong geophysical signature that is very indicative of a porphyry skarn environment. And we believe it has potential to substantially increase what is already quite a sizable resource. We were set up to begin that drilling in March, and the COVID pandemic hit, which has set us back. And like many people know, Peru's been particularly hit hard. It's winter time down there, so it's the normal flu season. We're now able to begin to get back to work on this. And we anticipate in the next few weeks we'll be kicking off the remainder of our phase two program, and the first time that we'll be testing these new target areas with potential to substantially increase the resource to the north.
Yeah, and more specifically, when we're talking about the Antakori deposit, is there something that's different about your approach towards that, whether it be from a data standpoint or an ESG standpoint compared to other companies? Can you speak a little bit more about that, and also that deposit and why investors should be paying attention to that specific deposit?
That's a very good point. Many junior companies kind of focus on getting that hot drill hole and news for the market and sort of short-term share price concerns on this. But our strategy is to not only make a discovery of a project, but to do all the things that you need to do around that to make sure it has potential to be a mine in the future. With our strategy of an early monetization, a sale of the project to the likely developer of the project, that means we have to do everything in a cautious manner, in a manner exactly like a major mining company would do to be comfortable. We're going to be asking a large company to probably pay us handsomely to acquire this project. That means we have to have everything in order. So that means we spend a lot of time on social aspects of the project, providing educational or agricultural or other opportunities to the communities around us, ways that we can show that our project offers a potential for them to improve their lives. Our strategy is intentional to look for large projects that have what we refer to as a multi-generational opportunity, something that could be a multi-decade mine that then provides benefits for a long term. It's not a simple boom and bust that is great for a few years and then is over for the communities in the area we're in. And one of the really things I think distinguishes our group is we put a lot of time into the technical aspects of the project. We look at ways we can de-risk the projects, ways that we can tackle if there's any concern on a certain aspect of the project. We put a lot of focus onto that so that when major companies review our data, they're comfortable that they see pathways forward and solutions to potential challenges on the project.
Yeah, and that actually tees up my next question very, very well. And I always want to know, because with all mining and exploration, there's always some sort of challenge. It's not a bad thing. It's just simply a challenge you need to get through. When it comes to this deposit, are there any specific challenges that you need to work through? I believe in your deck you talk about arsenic in there, and that could be troublesome unless you've got a plan for it. If you can just go into a little bit more about how you're going to get over those obstacles.
Absolutely, and that's a good example of what we tackle on this. Is rather than taking something and discounting it and saying, well, that can be solved, you have to tackle a challenge like that right up front. So the project, it's a complex geologic setting, and there, in a simple way, there are two different ore types on this. There's what we call high sulfidation epithermal mineralization on the southern part of the project, and more of a skarn mineralization on the north. They both have very attractive copper gold grades. But the high sulfidation epithermal mineralization on the south side of the project has arsenic associated with that copper gold. And so that presents a metallurgical challenge of how we tackle that. And arsenic is increasing in copper concentrates worldwide in many projects now. And many groups are beginning to seek ways that they can handle that and move forward with it. So we're interacting with a lot of these groups. Many of them are under CA and evaluating us and providing us ideas and hints on how they would approach it. And we're taking a look at the different pathways on how we could go forward. There are solutions to this. They do cost a little bit more to process it, but that's offset by the higher grades that we have at the project and the extremely low strip ratio of the project. So we see this as a way to go forward. One of the things we can point to right now is that the nearby Yanacocha mine, which is operated by Buenaventura and Newmont, it's the largest gold mine in South America. They're making a transition from heap leach oxide to begin to process arsenical copper gold sulfides at depth, the very same style of mineralization we have, and they're located 35 kilometers away. And they've publicly announced that they've completed their feasibility work and have received their environmental permits to put in a large autoclave, which is a way to tackle this type of mineralization. And what it does is it allows you to sequester the arsenic into a stable form that can be safely stored and still produce copper and gold metal on site. So the downside to it is it costs a little bit more to do, but to justify that type of a process, you need a large deposit with very good grade, very low strip ratio, and that's exactly what we have.
Yeah, very interesting. I appreciate you bringing that up because, especially when it comes to a lot of exploration and mining companies, but really all companies throughout the world, we have to have an ownership for the world that we're in. And even though some things may cost more, I strongly believe we're in a very big push for social governance, for making sure that these companies have the responsibility of making sure that they are leaving the world in a better place than they first began. So I appreciate going into detail, and that's very important. Now, the last time we spoke, I already mentioned this. You were at our virtual investor day conference, and once again, you
Mhm.
can go into the description of this video to see that full interview there and that full in-depth talk about your company. But you've really had a lot of share appreciation since that point. I believe you're up 60% since then. So fantastic to see. I'm sure a lot of investors are very happy to see that. But for an investor who's looking at that and thinking, have I missed the boat per se? Am I late? What would you have to say to that investor who's got that currently on their mind?
Well, from our standpoint, we were so extremely undervalued, and it's not just ourselves. Many copper stories were in the same penalty box on this, and that we view we're just beginning to recover back to a more logical price where we should be on this, and only partially recovered back to this. A lot of this has happened because we've increased our efforts to reach out to a broader public audience and have more people aware of us. And I think many people have done very well in gold recently, perhaps cannabis and other industries before that, and they're sitting on quite good profits. And we're starting to hear more and more from investors that are looking at what's next, and they're realizing the setup for copper is outstanding. Copper prices moved above $3. And we've announced that we'll be back to work and drilling an exciting new area that's a potential catalyst to really, really open things up for us. So that's drawn a lot of interest in. I think it's smart money. It's people positioning themselves well with the idea that there's already a bird in hand with a substantial resource right now, and then the potential for something the potential for us to substantially increase this with the new drilling.
Yeah, very nice. And I know that this could have added to that as well as the fact that you've recently upgraded on the OTC as well to the OTC QX, and it seems like you've got a lot of support from the US side. Do you believe that has helped add to the share price appreciation, just overall more eyes on your company?
It certainly has, and it's largely due to requests that we had from our own shareholder base. We had U.S.-based investors that were finding it difficult to self-trade or to enter into our company on this, and so hearing that, we responded to that by making that listing possible, and we've seen a great response to it right now. And it's not. It's coincident with a much more of an awareness in the U.S. and everywhere, frankly, that commodities, metals are a great opportunity right now. 2 or 3 years ago, it was hard to draw interest, but right now we're seeing that increased interest, and it's the right moment for us to be getting the word out on the project.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't mind, I do have one last question, more specifically on the fact that we've talked about eyes in your company and shareholders.
Mhm.
There is a shareholder that you have. It's Route One, a very large shareholder. I believe it's almost a quarter of your shares that they own. Can you speak about, what attracted that company that to you, and what exactly are how are they as a stakeholder to that? Are they active? Are they happy? I know all investors are always wondering with these large shareholders, what is their mindset currently on your company?
Yeah, no, they're an outstanding shareholder for us and one that's had a long-term relationship with us. They strongly backed our predecessor company, Antares Minerals, and did well with that. They're not it's a large hedge fund, a large fund that does not specialize in metals and commodities particularly. They're a broad range of things that they look for. And the way they describe it to us is they really bet on teams as much as on a particular play or a particular company. And as they got to know us and how we worked with Antares, our previous company, they appreciated our approach. They appreciated what we were looking for, how we were setting up, our concern for communities and other aspects of the projects. And they've seen us do it before. So now they're betting on us as one of the groups that they feel has a chance to be serially successful in the space we're in right now. So their position is about 24%. They participate in every financing as we go forward. As an example, they're also encouraging, they like ourselves believe that these opportunities are very rare now to find these really large copper or copper gold projects. We've kind of cleaned the shelves. There are not too many of them that are easily identifiable anymore. And so they're encouraging us to try to watch out for another one or two. And they recently allowed us to create a situation where we formed a spinco called Aldebaran from Regulus to capture an exciting copper gold opportunity in Argentina that forms in that company right now. And so they strongly backed us to do that. They're strongly encouraging us to put our hands on these rare beasts that are out there right now because they realize the value in these.
Very interesting and great to hear as well. We always like knowing that shareholders are still really backing the companies that they're in. And we've gone over a lot of great information throughout this interview as well. So I thank you very much, John, for your time. When it comes to investors, just to leave us off here, if there's something that you want to say to investors, that one catalyst to really look out for, what would that be for anybody who's watching right now?
Well, as we've discussed, Regulus, we're on to a great discovery right now. This is, as an exploration geologist, this is the most fascinating deposit I've ever worked on. It has potential to grow substantially. We already have a large resource in hand, and the drilling that will start in a few weeks is going to test an area to the north that has potential to substantially open this up to an even larger resource as we move forward. So it's a great time to be drilling out a project like this. Copper is an interesting space to watch to move into, and we do have the backing of there's a substantial gold component to the project as well.
Beautiful. Well, John, once again, thank you very much for your time. And I'm very excited for your company coming on our platforms because we're going to be having more interviews like this. We're going to have more information for investors. We want to make sure they always have access to this as much information as possible. And you taking some time out of your day to come on, answer these questions and be here for investors is exactly what we like to see in these companies. So I appreciate it very much and look forward to speaking again with you very soon.
Great. Thanks, Brandon. That's exactly why we're teaming up with you. We really like your format and the ability to present our project in the way that you do it. So thank you very much.
Beautiful. Take care now.